Morning, everybody. Back for another episode. No, we didn't get a video out last week. Kind of had a lot of different stuff going on, so didn't get to film anything. But it is my birthday. I'm 57 today. Thank you, Jesus, for giving me another year. So usually my annual gig on my birthday is I take the whole week off and bask in the glow of working in the garage all week, which I couldn't do this year because I've been traveling so much for work, and I have to take care of my work responsibilities here at our at my home base in St. Louis. So I couldn't take that much time off. So, but I did take today and tomorrow and the next couple of days off. So I got 4 days. We're gonna dig into the truck. My wife and I are gonna do some more camper stuff, and we'll do a review of the things we have. So got some content coming up in the next few days. So today we are going to look at building a mount for this steering box, getting it put in, and getting that part figured out. And I want to get this some things figured out on this transmission, get the speedometer gear put in place of the old electronic speedometer signal sender. And so that's what we're going to shoot for on this video. So let's take a look at where we're at.
No, you're not bringing home another piece of junk.
You know, no matter how hard you try, there's something about transmissions. They want to puke transmission fluid. It's in their nature. And no matter how hard you try not to spill it, it's gonna happen. All right, gotta go get the cat litter. All right, so here's what we're looking at. So here's my steering box. And I went to the steel yard, got a couple of scraps of steel plate. That's 1/4 inch, so I think that will make a nice sturdy steering box. So I need a hole. There's my 3 mounting points. I need a flat plate that this can come through, so we can mount that square on there. And I think I've got a hole saw that size. What is that, 3 5/8? Let's see. Oh, yeah. We cut that hole that size and just tweak it a little bit with a die grinder. I think we can get that on there. So that's what we're going to do. That'll probably be the end of this hole saw, but we're just going to cut it nice and slow on the drill press. Keep it lubed up, and once we get that flat plate made, then we'll figure out on the truck where this box is going to go. And I need to keep in mind that I need to be able to get to this. So it's going to stand off a little bit from the frame because we need to line this guy up with the joint on the bell crank. Okay, so let me do. I don't want to do that. Yeah, let's. I'm gonna take a piece of cardboard and make this first, and just kind of figure out on the frame where this is gonna have to go. I think I might want to jack this up and take the wheels off of it so I can get it under there and get a little bit more room. All right, let me do that and we'll take another look here. All right, so this may be a little tough to film under here, but I'll kind of do what I can. So I want the column to come up in here somewhere. And if you look on the old flat front vans, they kind of come up and the wheel sits more like this way than this way. Almost like you're I don't know what I'm trying to say. But it doesn't have the same angles like a car or a truck. So I want to come up somewhere in here, and then we'll put a U-joint on that column and make a mount here. So, but I need, if you look down in here, there's our bell crank. So we need to see how far that is off the frame. Take a measurement here. Okay. So that stands about to the center, 7.5, 7 3/8 off the frame. So I need the pitman arm to be about the same. So if we look at the steering box, oops, it's got a pretty good offset. So let's see, where are we to get this center with this? So this is about from here to the mounting surface is 5 inches. Yeah. So 5 inches from here to here, that gives me about 2, and yeah, that is just about, I'm going to put this a 1/4 inch away from touching that frame. If I make that stand off the same, which is fine, but what I'm going to have to do is drill a hole in that frame. I have a place in the bottom of the bracket that I can reach this nut with a wrench, and I'm going to have a hole that I can turn that set screw if I want to, because I've got to be able to adjust this box. But this may be below the frame. Let me turn this off a minute. I'll turn it back on in just a second. Okay, it's kind of a weird angle of film map, but we'll see if we can make it work. So here's our pitman or bell crank, doohickey, or wishbone if you want to call it that. Bell crank sounds more technical, so we'll go with that. Okay. So I need to get this pretty much even with that. Okay, like that. I don't know if you can even see that box. I don't think you can. Let's try it over here. Ah! That's a little better. So, which side? Which is the flared side? Okay, that's coming in the top. Get that steering rod. So, looking at the steering rod, that's got to come in the top, and this has to come in the back side. So that's going to put, if I want this level, I need to get the hole on the pitman arm level with this, and that is going to put this higher than what I thought. Let's see. So, oh yeah. All right. The shaft on this box is actually going to come up through the floor. I was thinking this thing was going to be lower. So, I don't know if I even needed to cut that shaft off. Well, yeah, I did to be able to manipulate it in here. We're going to be about there. Okay, I don't need to drill a hole through the frame because the majority of the bracket is going to be up above the frame rail. All right, move this camera, see if you can see that. Okay. It's kind of a wonky camera stand. So we need to be up in here, even a little higher. Right there. Might as well cut a nice big square in the floor before I even start, figure out where this is going to go, and then I'll patch in around it. So, okay, well, I mean, that gives me an idea. Let me cut this hole in the floor and we'll take a look at this again. Okay, so, cut a nice hole in the floor right there, and we'll just, you know, make a piece to bolt, probably a bolt-in piece to go around that. But I think this is going to work pretty good because I'm also going to have to make some kind of brake pedal bracket. So I think the bracket for the steering box is going to be a decent part of the structure. And then give me something to take off of to bolt the brake pedal bracket to that we're also going to make. So if we go like this, and get this dude up high, about like that. Just eyeballing it, that gives us a pretty good, I'll even go up higher. Yeah, I think we'll go up higher. That's going to give me a pretty good angle on that wishbone-y thing. So we need to come down about, oh my gosh, that's heavy, about 8 inches, about 6.5 inches off of the bottom side of the mounting hole, and we're going to be clocked. So yeah, I think that's going to work. They give me plenty of travel room for the Pitman arm. All right, so let me I'm gonna cut that out of cardboard first, and then I just kind of want to get my clocking right on how I want to do it, and then I can mark it, and then we can transfer it over to a piece of steel. So I'm gonna go. I'm going to be 8 inches down, and I'm probably going to be about, I'm going to start out about 11 inches wide and trim down if I need to. 11's too much, but once we get it up there, we'll figure that out. All right, let me figure all that out, and then we'll take another look. Okay, so hole sawing through 1/4 inch plate is quite the task. So we'll see if we can do it. I got my drill press set as low as it'll go on speed. Got some lube, and got a piece of board behind this thing. So we're just gonna try it. In fact, I'll put this on fast speed because I'm sure this is gonna take a while. But let's see what dies first, the plate or the saw. All right, that actually worked. That took about 20 minutes of, you saw it in fast speed. Just keep oiling it and keep letting it rest. And unbelievably, the teeth don't look bad on that thing. So it might actually be able to cut something else. I figured that would be the death of that hole saw. But we got through there. So now I need to finish making my pattern out of this and try it on the box, and then we'll figure out about making some legs for the standoff. So we'll stop right there for now. Okay, so here is our initial plate. So I've got it bolted to that, and you can see the cutout I had to do. This wouldn't lay flat on the mounting bolts because of this, so I just cut a little window out of there. You know, a lot of people said, why don't you have a plasma cutter? And I had one for a while. I don't remember what brand it was, but it was one of those ones with the compressor built into it. And the thing just didn't work that great. I mean, it worked okay, but it made a lot of slag. And I mean, for real thin metal, it was okay. And it ended up sitting in the corner forever, and I finally just sold it. And I've cut pretty much everything by the big packs of cut-off wheels at Harbor Freight, or I'll use the heavy-duty Sawzall blades. So, but I mean, if there's any tool reps out there watching the channel that want to change my mind and send me a free plasma cutter for me to check out, I will be more than happy to take it and sing your praises if it's a good product and do a product review. So I'm sure with all my 2,000 subscribers, that's probably not going to happen, but we'll throw it out there. So, okay. I need to get back under there, kind of hold this up and try to figure out what I'm going to need for legs on this thing and exactly where it's going to go. So let me do that, and then we'll get back to how we're going to do this. And I don't think I'm going to make this bolt on. I think I don't want to drill all the way through the frame. Well, part of it is going to be up above the frame. So I think we're just going to weld that thing in. And if I get down in there and go this way, should be able to weld it without having to lay upside down and weld. So I think that's the route we're going to go. So let me kind of figure out placement here, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so cut me a little piece of plate here for a standoff, and we're just going to tack this on, and then I want to get under there and try it and make sure it's going to be good. I'm going to go ahead and tack these nuts on there. It'd be nice to have those nuts where I don't have to get to the back of them. I just put the bolt in there. I was looking through my stuff, and I don't know if I'll need a double joint or not. It actually almost fits. Almost. Probably have to get one the right size, and this one's a double D shaft. But that's kind of the idea. We'll connect the shaft with this. We're going to have to build a steering column too. I'll have to go through my stuff and see if I got enough junk around here to do it. Let's do some quick tacks on this. Still need to fix my ground wire. I got a pretty good nick in it. Thick stuff here. Just a couple tacks there to make sure that we can check that. going nowhere. All right, that shouldn't be too hot to handle. Let's see. Nope, that'll be all right. All right, let me crawl under there and check this, and then we'll see what we got. Okay, there you go. So we've got a bad mama of a steering box bracket, I believe. So I went ahead and put another plate across the bottom here, so we're gonna weld there, we're gonna weld there, we're gonna weld there. I may put a gusset across there, I'm not sure. And I think I can squeeze in the middle and get some welds in from the other side too. So we'll get it in there pretty good and tight. Before I do, I want to throw a couple bolts into the steering box, and I want to cut my drag link down and figure out how long that's going to be, and just kind of put it in place and just try it. Make sure this thing's actually gonna steer and turn the wheels. So let's do that. I'll let this cool off a little bit. I'll get the box in there, and then we'll cut this link, and then I got to make sure I got something to put it back together with, and we'll give it a shot. See what's happening. All right, so I really like where my steering shaft is coming up through the floor. I mean, it's just about centered with that, maybe off a little bit. Pretty darn close. So that's going to be a good place for the column. Now I need to figure out center on this box, because I've got the center on the throw on the bell crank. So I just did put a mark on the end of the shaft, and really what you do is you just count the turns. So I put it all the way this side, and I'll go, that's a half a turn, 1 turn, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5 turns lock to lock. So I need 2.25 turns would be center. So we'll go half, 1, half, 2.25. So right there should be the center of my drag link. So I need to shorten that drag link to go from here to here. And that should work. So let me take that thing off the other bell crank, cut it in half. I'll have to measure this, and then I'm gonna figure out how we're gonna put this thing back together. We're probably gonna do something like we did with the center drag link and with the tie rods. Weld a sleeve over it or something like that. So all right, let me figure that out, and we'll get it on here, and we'll run a little test. Okay, so here's where we at. Here is the drag link from the Corvair. And so my thought was, cut this, section it, weld it back together, and go that route. But then I noticed that these tie rod ends off of the van are the same taper as the as this, and the same taper as this one. So, and when I measured it, it was like 15 inches. I pulled the whole tie rod assembly off this side of the van, cut about 1 inch off of each tie rod end after I cleaned it up, screwed it back together, and boom, it fell right in there. So that is cool. And that's gonna work good. So I tried to turn this thing just by clamping a pair of vice grips on there and turning it, and it's I don't have the strength to do it or whatever, but Yeah. But it does turn a little bit. I just didn't go completely lock to lock. So yeah, that's why they had the big wheels on these non-power boxes. But I think that is going to work just fine. So the next thing I want to do is I want to mock up where the column's going to go. So to do that, I've really got to make a column. I've got the column tube over here. It's kind of a darn shame I cut the thing off, but because well, no, that would have been entirely too long. So we're going to be shorter than that. And I want to come out this way more, so we're going to need that U-joint on there. Probably like that. I almost need to put a seat in this thing and kind of get an idea where I'm going to be sitting before I know how long to make this. So I think I'm going to do that. We're running a pretty good amount of time on this video. I think I'm going to go ahead and, I don't know if we're going to end this one here. No, I'll tell you what, let me get a seat out, wipe it off, figure out what I got to do for a bracket just to kind of get it sort of where I want it to go. And then we'll see about this column. So let me, I showed these before. These are the seats I'm using. 4 Econoline seats. And I can make the bracket out of those brackets. So like, you know, one side will be down to the floor. The other side will bolt onto the wheel well. So let me get one of these out, cleaned up, and we'll do some finagling on how this is going to go in there. And then we can kind of get idea on length of column. And one thing I like too is there should be plenty of room under there. I have a gas pedal over here. Brake is going to kind of be, it's going to be over this way more because I got to clear this, but that's cool. So I want to get the master cylinder under the floor here. So brake is going to be like a little more to the left than what it normally would, but yeah, it's okay. It's not a big deal. All right, let me pull this seat out and we'll see what we got. All right, so I decided I went ahead and jacked this thing up and took the weight off the wheel so I could just see the turning radius. And so all the way to the left, a pretty good radius there. And then go all the way to the right. Let's see what the other way looks like. Yeah, we're a little short on that side. That radius isn't as good. So I may have to lengthen this rod a little bit. I think we're not making, if I lengthen that rod, that'll push me more that way. So, but we are steering smooth. We're making it lock to lock. Just got to mess with the adjustment a little bit. Okay, so I got the seat out. I'm going to pull the bottom off of this thing, and I think it's just going to be a matter of, we're going to cut this here. We're going to use this half of the base because it's going to go from here to, you know, take up that space. And then the other side, we'll just probably have a plate there, I guess, to screw to, make some kind of plate extension to screw from this slider, and then it'll bolt onto here somewhere. If I remember how the my old A100 van was, that's how it was. So let me get this apart, cut this thing, and let's see what we got. All right. So all I did was cut off the one side of the riser. And I think that's too tall. Grab the steering wheel here. See if I can get up in here without killing myself. Wheel ends up about here. Yeah, that wheel would have to be way up there for this to be comfortable. Tell you, my legs feel, the length on the legs feel good here, but that's too much. All right, I'm gonna knock about 2 inches out of that. Well, let's knock 1.5 inches out. That'll put the corner of this down on the fender. And the seat's gonna have a little slant back, so I'm good with that. All right, let me do that. I'm gonna section 1.5 inches out of that riser, tag it back together, and we'll take another look at it. Okay, I think that is much better. We got 1.5 inches out of there, so that seat's sitting nice and level with it just sitting there. You have to figure out a bracket for this side, so let's see what that does. All right, seat, don't flip on me. Legs are still good. We'll get the steering wheel about here. Yeah, that I like. I got a good view of the gauges. Even though on the van, the regular van, the gauges are kind of tilted back that way, so you can see them this way. If I got it here, I got a nice view of them. And I got plenty of room over here for my doghouse. Okay, I think that is what we're going with. Steering wheel is not exactly centered on where the old wheel was, but no big deal, it'll be fine. I got brake room, gas room. Yep. Okay, that's what we're going with. I will, what I'll do is I'll come out here and have my wife measure. I'll hold the wheel where I want it. We'll measure from the box stub up to the wheel, and that is how long we'll make the column. But yeah, I'm digging it. Okay, so that is going to be it for this video. Tomorrow, my wife and I are going. I'll probably do a camper video tomorrow. My wife and I are going to do a little trip to the boneyard, try to find some nicer seats for that thing. And we've done a lot of little work to it, so I think I'm going to go ahead and we'll do a little tour of it of kind of what we got done. I've been doing that rather than filming every little thing, because it's just such small stuff. And truthfully, I'm getting more views out of this thing than I am that, so I kind of focus on this. Okay, so we'll get a word from the Lord, and that will be the end of this one. So, you know, one more thing. Pull this off here without shutting it off. I mentioned it was my birthday, so my wife asked me what I wanted for my birthday, and I said I've been thinking about a lift out here, and I'm just not ready to pull the trigger on the lift yet. And I think maybe next year we'll do that. But I've been looking at my lighting out here, and these lights have, I put these bulbs in here. There was like a high output T8 fluorescent. I put them in here when I built the garage 17 years ago, and these things are still burning. They're getting pretty dim. I think I've replaced like 2 bulbs in here in all that time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to change all these out with T8 6000K LEDs. And then I'm going to go down the middle, and I got some round LEDs that they call them high bay garage fixtures, and I'm going to put like one here. I'm going to put 4 of them in, like 1, 2, 3, and then one back there in the corner where my brake is. So we're going to light this place up in here to where you could land an airplane in here, because as I'm getting older, my eyes need more light. So that's my birthday present to me, is we're redoing the lighting in here. Maybe we'll do a video on that and do it before and after. So anyway, let's get a word from the Lord, and I'll get this one posted tonight, and we'll get to work on the other one. We'll get the camper one done probably tomorrow. Maybe we'll post that one tomorrow night or Saturday morning. So, and Saturday I plan on probably being back out here and working on this some more. So, okay, check with you in a bit. Hey everybody, thanks for coming along on the video today. Had a pretty good time out there and got quite a bit done. It was nice to have the day off and just kind of dig in there. So, like I said, next thing up is we're going to get that steering column lined up. I got ordered the joint and the bearing for that, and kind of did some measuring on that. So that will be the next truck video, probably. Well, I don't know. Depends on whether that stuff is here in a couple days or not, because I imagine Saturday I'll get back out there. So if not that, maybe we'll work on the transmission. But anyway, we'll get back on it. So message for today. One of my favorites again, Dr. William Lane Craig. I've been listening to his podcasts, and just a wonderful, brilliant apologist. And if anybody hasn't checked out Dr. Craig, I just highly recommend that you do. You can find him on YouTube. You can find him on podcasts. He's got many books out there. Just a guy that will help you, equip you to explain our faith to others, to non-believers, maybe to other believers, to help them increase their knowledge, but just equip us to be able to speak fluently about what our faith is and why. So article in I was reading in the book of Romans, and he has an article in here, and it's called "What About Those Who Have Never Heard About Christ?" So I'm just going to read some of this. It says, "The conviction that salvation is available through Christ alone permeates the New Testament. This raises a troubling question of the fate of those who have never heard the gospel. What exactly is the problem here supposed to be? The universalist alleges that the following statements are logically inconsistent. Statement 1, God is all-powerful and all-loving. Statement 2, some people never hear the gospel and are lost. But why think that number 1 and number 2 are logically incompatible? There's no explicit contradiction between them. If the universalist is claiming that they are implicitly contradictory, he must be assuming some hidden premises that would bring out this contradiction. Although universalists have not been forthcoming about these hidden assumptions, the logic of the problem would suggest something is akin to these points. Number 1, if God is all-powerful, he can create a world in which everyone hears the gospel and is freely saved. Number 2, if God is all-loving, he prefers a world in which everybody hears the gospel and is freely saved. But are these premises necessarily true? Consider the first one. It seems incontrovertible that God would create a world in which everyone hears the gospel. But so long as people are free, there is no guarantee that everybody in such a world would be freely saved. In fact, there's no reason to think that the balance between the saved and the lost in such a world would be any better than it is than the balance in the actual world. Hence, that premise is not necessarily true, and the universalist argument is false. But what about the next one? Is it necessarily true? If God is all-loving, he prefers a world in which everyone hears the gospel and freely saved. Is that necessarily true? Let us suppose, for the sake of argument, that there are possible worlds that are feasible for God in which everyone hears the gospel and freely accepts it. Does God, being all-loving, compel him to prefer one of these worlds over a world in which some persons are lost? Not necessarily, for these other worlds have other overriding deficiencies that make them less preferable. For example, suppose that the only worlds in which everybody freely hears the gospel and is saved are worlds with only a handful of people in them. Must God prefer one of these sparsely populated worlds over a world in which multitudes believe the gospel and are saved, even though other persons freely reject his grace and are lost? No, thus the universalist's second assumption is not necessarily true, so that his argument is doubly invalid. As a loving God, God wants as many people as possible to be freely saved and as few people as possible to be lost. We know that. His goal then is to achieve an optimal balance between these, to create no more of the lost than are necessary to attain a certain number of the saved. Is it possible that in order to create this many people who will be freely saved, God also had to create this many people who would be freely lost? It might be objected that an all-loving God would not create people whom he knew would be lost, but who would be saved if only they had heard the gospel. But how do we know there are any such persons? It's reasonable to assume that many people who never hear the gospel would not have believed the gospel if they had heard it. Suppose then that God has so ordered the world so that all persons who never hear the gospel are precisely those such people, that they would never believe it. In that case, anybody who never hears the gospel and is lost would have rejected the gospel anyway and have been lost even if he had heard it. Thus, it is possible that God has created a world that has an optimal balance between the saved and the lost, and those who never hear the gospel and are lost would not have believed it even if they had heard it. So as long as this premise is even possibly true, it shows that there is no incompatibility between an all-powerful, all-loving God and some people never hearing the gospel and being lost. Great article. I think that just kind of speaks for itself. You know, I think a lot of people in the world today will look at God and just say that they only want to focus on the goodness of God and the loving of God, the lovingness of God. There's like no room in the thinking for the discipline of God. And people say, well, why would a good God send people to hell? Well, he doesn't send you to hell. God says, I love you. I desire for you to be in my presence. I sent my son to die for you, to pay for your sins so that you can be in my presence. All that's required of you is to believe and to accept that and to allow Jesus into your heart and to form that relationship and to grow in that relationship. Now, if our answer to that is no, I don't want to believe that, and I don't accept that, then it's we who are saying, putting ourselves in hell after we die. We're making the choice. God has done everything he can to keep us from making that choice to go there. It is ultimately our choice to say, yes, God, I accept you. No, I reject you. So, good stuff. Like I said, Dr. Craig is just amazing apologist, and I encourage you to check him out. So let's have a quick word of prayer, and we'll be done. Father, I thank you for today. Thank you for this. Thank you for my getting me to another birthday, and that I was able to share some time with the viewers out there, and just ask that you would carry this message to them, that you would soften hearts who hear it, and that those who you wish to have an impact on, that it would do that. And I just ask this in the name of your precious Son, Jesus. All right, hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment, leave a prayer request. Stay tuned for the next video. Catch you in a bit.